Is there a global shift of consciousness happening right now? Hello, this is Chris from Wake Up speaking. The question of the day is there a global shift of consciousness happening for the whole of humanity right now? Today is the 21st of December 2020, and many astrologers report that today is the first day of an enormous shift. A shift that only takes place very, very rarely, like, for example, 2000 years ago. And can this be true? Is there any substance behind it? When we think back, around the year zero, there were around about 170 million people, that's the guesstimate, living at that time, and around 100 enlightened people, more or less. And some of them were very enlightened and even avatar level, like Jesus and stuff. So today we have almost 8 billion people. That's 45 times as many. And to have the same ratio of enlightened people to overall population, and the main population, 80-85%, is in deep sleep anyway. They're very unconscious and they don't even want to wake up. So you need a lot of enlightened people to balance that out. Otherwise, the human race would probably destroy itself. That's what the race is very good at destroying itself and the environment, and it got worse over the centuries. And now probably they would manage to destroy themselves in a very relatively short time, were it not for a lot of enlightened people. The thing is, the population growth was very extreme. It doubled and doubled and doubled and doubled until very recently it started doubling in less than 100 years. Only in 1804 the global population reached 1 billion. In 1927, 120 years later, it reached 2 billion, it doubled. Then 47 years later, it doubled again, 1974, 4 billion. And there was also some global consciousness shift around that time, the 60s, 70s, when green, actually, the Spiral Dynamics color green was opened to the public, so to say. And also when the consciousness of the majority of humanity reached a certain level where it was possible to wake up. But then, if it would have continued to double exponentially, we would have reached 8 billion in the year 2000, which didn't happen. Even now we don't have 8 billion probably, but almost. So after 1974, the population growth speed decreased a little bit. But during all this time where the population growth was growing almost exponentially, the number of enlightened people all over the world decreased. Between minus 500 and 0, there were always around 100 enlightened people around of different stages of enlightenment. And then it decreased during the Dark Ages to about half. And then with the Industrial Revolution, it halved again until it reached an all-time low around 2006. 2006, there were only about 10 enlightened people on the planet. And half of them were at higher stages, up to avatar level. But many of them died by now. They're not alive anymore, like UG, for example. But what happened after 2006 was very interesting. After 2006, suddenly the number of enlightened people on the planet exploded from around 10 to 400. Now we have around 400 enlightened people on the planet within 13 years. That's 4 times as many enlightened people as we had 2000 years ago. But on the other hand, of course, we have 45 times as many people. So we would need a little bit more. Some more enlightened people would be great. 800 would be cool. It is said that one enlightened person balances out the negativity and unconsciousness and destructiveness of 10 million deep sleep human beings. So we need around 780 or 800 enlightened people. Now we have 400, and my guesstimate is that within the next 10 years we will have this additional 400. We will have about 800 enlightened people in 10 years, the latest. But that's not all. Apart from these enlightened people, what happened during the last 13 years is also an explosion of awakened people, of different stages of awakening. And the most interesting stage of awakening is the so-called love phase. If someone is in this love phase or space or stage, you can actually feel love emanating from them. That's what people think enlightenment is. It's not. It's that universal love. You get plugged into that love. But that used to be a very, very rare stage, about as rare as enlightenment. It usually happens before enlightenment. Some people also choose to stay in there. But it's some sort of advanced awakening state. It's not so difficult to wake up. But then most people who wake up, they stay at this entrance, so to say, at the entrance level, and not move up to the love stage. But what happened in the last 13 years is that thousands of people woke up. We have several thousands of awake people right now. Some of them are listening to this channel regularly. And of these, about a tenth, about 10%, is in that love phase. So we have about as many people in the love phase as we have in the enlightenment phase. So they are chomping at the bits for the next step. Yeah, they are prone to become enlightened in the next 10 years. And all these thousands of awakened people, they're prone to get into the love phase and so on. So there will be an exponential explosion of people waking up, getting into the love phase, getting into the enlightenment phase, and maybe even beyond. Right now, to my knowledge, there's no one in a beyond enlightenment or avatar space like Mucci or Sri Aurobindo or Meher Baba or Bernadette Roberts. But there are already some people who are almost there, like Tony Parsons, for example. So there's a lot happening right now, and I don't know if it has anything to do with astrology, but when the astrologers claim that something is happening now, they're correct. Don't ask me how I know all this stuff. Verify it for yourself. You don't have to believe anything I say, but there are ways to find that out, how many enlightened people are on the planet and so on. And right now it's about 400. But thousands of people, more than 3,000 people who are awake. That's a lot. Nothing like that has ever happened before in recorded human history. Who knows? Human history is very long. It's more than 100,000 years long, probably millions of years. But within that time where writing has happened, within the last, let's say, 2,500 to 3,000 years, this is unique. And there will be a lot of resistance. It has already started this year. The resistance to the change, to the shift of consciousness. Yeah, there are a lot of people who want war and destruction and suffering, and who do not like peace and love. So those will resist. But at some point, shifts just happen. Yeah, as I said, in the 60s and 70s, there was a shift towards green, Spiral Dynamics green, and now I talked to my Spiral Dynamics specialist, there's a shift towards yellow. And of course, that's a big difference because yellow is the first, second tier color. So there's a shift of humanity towards yellow. If there will be 10 or more % of all of humanity centered in Spiral Dynamics yellow, then this will be have a much larger impact as the shift towards green 50 years ago. So the next 10 years will become very suspenseful, and you're living in a very cool time, and if enlightenment is your goal, it was never as easy as now, because there's a pull upwards. Yeah, the more people do it, the more people manage to do it, or the more people to whom it has happened, the more of a pull will be upwards to follow. There's a big difference if only 10 people are there or if 800 people are there. So it's very easy to wake up right now. That's why also the internet is full of people who report that they woke up, which is often true. And maybe the internet really was one of the main factors for that happening. Yeah? This information is not secret anymore, how waking up works or enlightenment works. You can read it up in thousands of books, and there's so much information on YouTube or on the internet. So this may have facilitated the whole process within the last 13 years. This was a major difference in the 21st century, the internet and the free availability of knowledge, which is of course a yellow concept. So there's a shift towards yellow, there's a shift towards awakening and love and enlightenment, and we're part of it right now. And of course we will have to suffer also the consequences of the resistance, but this is not a black and white game, right? This is not a good versus evil thing. This will not be some kind of battle. The resistance will vanish at some point. Whenever something new happens, there will be resistance. And after a while, the resistance will disappear, and then that's it. Looking back 50 years later, no one will remember anymore that there was some kind of resistance. It's like, now we talk about the 60s and 70s and the hippie revolution and the green revolution, but it's basically normal right now. And this will be the same probably in about 25 years. We will look back on the year 2020, 21, 22 and so on and say, wow, look what happened there. Now it's all normal for us. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening, thank you for subscribing or joining us on Facebook or Patreon, and see you soon.